is all technical jargon and stuff. Long story short, the sound card on my computer is resetting. And I've got it set to a certain level to where everything sounds good for the folks on Vida television and all that kind of stuff. And it resets every single time I reset my computer. And so now I've got to watch it so that all of the good work we do here in the first couple of hours isn't for naught. Welcome, everybody, to the Chris Salcedo Show. As I said, telephone number is 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. Social media. It strikes me that I don't talk about this enough. Facebook and Twitter. And by the way, Facebook is in the news. And the reason why it's in the news is because all of the left-wing kooks that typically support Facebook have received a report that Facebook was aiding the Trump campaign, in essence, aiding the Trump campaign in targeting individuals in the last election cycle, which isn't illegal. I've got to say, it's not illegal. They've been targeting individuals for voting and that kind of thing since there's been politicking. But the only thing where I think Facebook may be vulnerable here is that they weren't truthful about what they were doing. And I think this is a lot of social media too, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't just Facebook. Anyway, so if you get linked in the left-wing zealot world, if you get linked with Trump in any way, you're gone. And the lefties are just going nuts on Facebook. And I want Facebook and I want Twitter to notice the measured tone of this conservative talk show host and probably many others. That, yeah, I think your practices were a little shady, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it. People voluntarily use your site. You just got to be a little more upfront about what you're doing with this data that everybody's providing you. And some people who are really concerned about the deep state, really concerned about all of this data that we are freely giving over that could be exploited, there is some concern there. Oh, we're Facebook. Trust us with all your data. Oh, by the way, we didn't want to tell you that we're actually gathering it. So that's where the credibility problem, in my mind, comes in. There is breaking news as of this morning, folks. I'm going to go to Fox right now. This is recorded from earlier today, and this is what they were saying. Have a listen. Hold on a minute.
About midnight, Todd Pyro is live on the ground, 5 a.m. in Austin, Texas, with the latest. Todd?
Steve, Ainsley, and Brian, good morning to you. Yes, we just learned about this explosion at a FedEx facility. Like you said, it's about 60 miles from where we are standing right now in an area called Schertz. We just have new video into the newsroom. Let's show it to you right now. Here is what we know. A package containing nails and shrapnel blew up on a conveyor belt around 12:30 this morning, and a woman was treated for a concussion. No word yet on any connection to the Austin bombings, but the FBI is investigating. We, of course, will bring you the latest on that explosion as we know it.
Okay, well, what we are hearing now, they have updated this story, is that authorities are now saying it's likely that these incidents are not definitive, but likely these incidents in Austin and in San Antonio are linked. This is what I had feared. I didn't want to say it on the air because I didn't want to give some crackpot an idea. But my fear was that it starts branching out of Austin and into the surrounding communities and maybe all over Texas. And it appears preliminarily that's what's going on here. That is early reporting it was still dark in New York at that time. And by the way, the sun is coming up in New York City right now. So that was early morning reporting from Fox News. And again, we are hearing reports that this incident is likely linked to what's happening in Austin. Russell and I were talking before we got on the air. And I'm not in law enforcement. I don't pretend to be in law enforcement. Perception and media is kind of what I do. And I don't know that this highly publicized, and I was very, surprised at how highly publicized it was. Outreach. The police saying to the bomber or bombers, come and talk to us. Come and tell us what's wrong, what your beef is. I'm sorry. That to me, and maybe I'm wrong, and if you're in law enforcement and you know, and there's another reason for this tactic, go ahead and call in and let me know that how off base I am, because I'm going to openly admit I could be off base here. But to me, as a layman, somebody looking from outside looking in, this sends a couple of signals. This sends a signal that the police have no idea who you are. We have no idea who you are. We have no idea when the next bomb is coming. We are completely clueless. Number one. Number two, when you're saying, oh, come talk to us, it exudes weakness. Now, I can recall other incidents like this. And as a matter of fact, a producer on the North Texas show made an observation yesterday. Doesn't this feel increasingly like the DC sniper? Russell, you remember the DC snipers? People are just
absolutely.
People are just getting dropped all over the place. These cats had hollowed out an area inside of their trunk to where they could jump in the trunk, get their rifle out, and start picking people off from the cover of their trunk in the car. It was scary. A lot of people lost their lives. And from what I remember from law enforcement back then, the attitude was, we're going to get you. And when we do, we are going to make your life a living hell. This move by police strikes me as, it tips the hand, I think, that we don't know who you are, what you're doing, what you're up to. We don't have the first clue as to where to begin to look for you. So come and talk to us. And if you're a crazed, depraved, bloodthirsty individual who wants to destroy other people's lives, innocent people are just going about their day, this is, I would think, music to your ears. You've got the San Antonio Police Department asking to talk. Psychologically speaking, I had a lot of questions about this tactic, and it struck me as kind of weak tea. Not with being critical of the police department. I'm curious as to why you send a message that I think is unmistakable. We have no idea who you are, and we're hoping you'll give yourself up because we don't want more bombs going off. And that sentiment I can understand, but you don't articulate it. 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. I debated whether or not I was going to talk about this story today because we kind of let off the program with it. There is because it's so convoluted, and that's kind of the big reason why that I didn't want to get into this. But long story short, and actually, you know what? Let me admit some fear to you. I use Facebook. I use Twitter. You know, doesn't that kind of sound like an Alcoholics Anonymous? Hi, my name is Chris. I use Facebook. I use Twitter. It's what these social media platforms have kind of devolved into. We have learned that they have been made the way they are to satisfy certain nerve impulses in the brain. The idea of friends and followers and all of this garbage and the number, and they structured it in such a way to where you'd be elated as you got more followers, and you would be discouraged or disparaged when you lost followers. You've got Twitter out there openly silencing conservatives. You got Facebook largely doing the same. And then there's an accusation against Facebook that it aided the Trump campaign. So at this point, Facebook has no friends. And And not that I was necessarily an enemy, but I recognized what they were doing. I recognized that Zuckerberg is a left-winger who doesn't give my side a fair shot. Same too with the owners of Twitter. We don't publicize this, but I can tell you that a lot of the folks, and some of them may be bots or Russian bots or whatever, or not real people who are following the Chris Salcedo Show, they have been targeted. And they're still being targeted. Twitter doesn't say what it's doing, why it's doing it, is not transparent at all about it. Twitter doesn't tell you why they do what they do. And neither does Facebook. That's why the official position of the Chris Salcedo Show is we are hoping that somebody with money will create a less antagonistic version of Facebook and Twitter for conservatives that at least is is straight down the middle and doesn't favor left-wingers over conservatives. It's just straight down the middle. And the more important caveat, I would say, is they're transparent. They let you know what they're doing and why they're doing it. You're banned because of this. And then a notice gets sent to those who are, maybe this would be a great little scarlet letter. You know, a notice goes out the next time you try to access somebody's account saying, hey, this person did this and this and this and this. But right now you just have no idea who's coming and going and who they are. It's becoming increased. By the way, this is a Gizmodo, I follow this tech site for other reasons. In my RSS feed, I've got this service called Feedly. It's free, by the way. You can download it for your browser too, to where I have certain news sources that I get information from on a daily basis. And Gizmodo was on there, not for this, not for politics usually. It's for stuff that's not politics. The name of this piece, I can't say it on the air. It says, this time Facebook really might be blanked. And it's creative. I'll give you that. It's a creative title, and it caught my attention. So what they're talking about here is Facebook getting caught sharing analytics allegedly with the Trump campaign, which allowed the Trump campaign to target folks for the 2016 presidential cycle. Now, had this been Hillary Clinton, nobody would have raised a stink because, frankly, this is what the Democrats have been doing forever. They believe in manipulating the human mind to vote for them and to give them power. The fact that it's being done on the other side, that this is what the lefties are like. Well, wait a minute, that's our job. Wait, what are you doing? So we'll talk about this coming up next. The Chris Salcedo Show. 281-558-5738. 281-558-KSEV. Your comments on the increased bombings. How concerned are you? And then coming up, Donald Trump rolls out his ideas to curtail drug violence. I think there's merit to this, folks. I mean, I know a lot of people who apparently are fans of illicit drugs are like, hey, come on, why do you want to put to death some drug dealers? Well, a lot of people would, after seeing the destruction they've brought to this country, saying that's a fitting end to these drug dealers. Back in a minute, the Chris Salcedo Show on the Voice of Texas. You got the Chris Salcedo Show. Glad you have tuned into the program, folks. Telephone number is 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. All things social media, Facebook and Twitter, and email can be found on ksevradio.com. That's ksevradio.com/Chris Salcedo, ChrisSalcedo. Gizmodo writing the following. This is Rhett Jones. This time Facebook may really be blanked. It's becoming increasingly clear that Facebook has never faced a scandal like this one that it's currently fighting. Revelations over the weekend about its reckless sharing of user data sent its stock price plunging on Monday, and fresh calls for regulations on the social media network are looking more real than ever. You know why? Because now the Dems are upset. Now the liberals are upset, ladies and gentlemen, because when they were using Facebook's analytics, and I'll get to that in a minute, when the Democrats and the liberals were using it and the GOP and Republicans weren't, that was okay. When the left wing had an unfair advantage, everybody's cool with that. But the minute the Republicans said, hey, wait a minute, we want part of that pie too. Oh, now it's got to be regulated. The last few days, multiple outlets broke various facets of the story. Facebook has known since 2015 that Cambridge Analytica, a data mining company hired by President Trump's election campaign, improperly obtained the personal data of 50 million of the network's users. And the social giant failed to do much of anything about it. In a blog post on Friday, Facebook said it has suspended the accounts of Cambridge Analytica and its parent company, SCL, while it investigates their alleged failure to comply with an agreement to delete all of the ill-gotten data. Well, wait a minute. You had an agreement with these folks that they were supposed to delete the ill-gotten data. Well, wait a minute. If it's ill-gotten, how can there be an agreement? My belief is that there was an agreement to share this data. It just wasn't supposed to be kept. The particulars of this case are relatively complex. Oh, you think? But the most important thing to understand is that Facebook collects an enormous amount of data about its users. And it lost control of that data when it found out. Now, so this is the crux of the whole story. It's not the fact that they shared information with Trump, although that's really what they're upset about. But they're going to say it's because they lost control of their data, meaning it was only supposed to go to liberals. It's only supposed to advantage liberals. The fact that Donald Trump used it to his advantage, well, that's a misuse of the data. That's what this feels like to me. Now, at bottom, look, I think there needs to be some transparency in all of this. We need to know, these social media platforms, what type of data about us they are mining, and then when it's going to be used. I think that they are covered with us. When you sign up, there's a whole bunch of fine print that you guys and I never read. I didn't read mine on Facebook, didn't read mine on Twitter, that covers them, indemnifies them from you and I going back saying, hey, wait a minute, you used my data improperly. No, when you signed up for your account, your data became our data. When it found out, it asked the bad actors responsible to promise they would delete the data. Now Facebook claims that Cambridge Analytica and SCL may have failed to fulfill that promise. And whatever you do, Facebook execs say, don't call it a breach. It wasn't a breach. This was, as you guys heard, an agreement. This was an agreement between this Cambridge Analytica company and Facebook. They had an agreement to get the data, but then delete it. And that agreement wasn't kept. Now, let me read another part of this story. Let's see who's writing this. Jason Howerton. Who's he writing for? This is for, oh boy, hold on a minute. IG, what is that? What is that? Hold on a minute. Now I'm going to be really curious. For some reason, the title of this website isn't popping up. IJR. I'm not exactly sure what. Anyway, I know where Howerton is. Howerton used to write for The Blaze. Very, very credible reporter. Anyway, former campaign official is claiming that Facebook knowingly allowed them to mine Facebook massive data. More than they would have allowed someone else to do because they were supportive of the Obama campaign. This is back in 2012. So, see, the issue that Facebook and lefties have, it's not the fact that this data is being gathered on you. No, that it's being used by Republicans and by Donald Trump the same way it was being used by Obama. They prefer to have the unfair advantage. Listen, in a Sunday tweet, Carol Davidson, former director of integration and media analytics for Obama for America, said the 2012 campaign led Facebook to suck out the whole social graph and target potential voters. They would then use the data to do things like append their email lists. When Facebook found out that they were doing what they were doing, they were surprised, she said, but she also claimed they didn't stop them once they found out. They came to the office in the days following the election recruiting and were very candid that they allowed us to do things they wouldn't have allowed someone else to do because they were on our side, Davidson tweeted. So, ladies and gentlemen, whatever was being used by and deployed by the Obama campaign was also being done by Cambridge Analytica. The reason why Facebook didn't come out and say, hey, this is a problem is because they supported President Obama. So all of their massive data that you give them, that I give them, because I am a Facebook user, they fed that to the Obama campaign, and when they misused it, it's okay. We're all left-wing zealots here, Mark Zuckerberg and his team said. It's cool for you guys to steal. It's cool for you guys to use this data improperly because we're behind you 100%. Now here comes Cambridge Analytica. Cambridge Analytica essentially doing the same thing, although the way in which the data was used, because of the nature of the difference between the political parties, probably not the same. Because what liberals and Democrats covet, conservatives and Republicans don't, and vice versa. But here comes Cambridge Analytica doing pretty much the same thing, and Facebook has a cow. And you understand why Facebook has a cow. Because number one, Facebook is populated with a bunch of liberal left-wing extremists. Number one. Number two, they recognize all their Silicon Valley buddies are going to get ticked off. Number three, they realize that conservatives, take it or leave it. The left-wing zealots that are their base, their market really, when they find out that Facebook and Trump are in the same sentence, they're going to lose their minds. And they have lost their minds. That's what's going on here. That's why this is so bad, ladies and gentlemen, for Facebook. I just got to tell you that the juxtaposition of those two stories is quite telling. All right, I'll be back in a minute. You got the Chris Salcedo Show. Hour number 2 on the Voice of Texas coming up. Be right back. So this whole Cambridge Analytica thing is, if I can boil down this stuff, and I know it's kind of dry material. That's why I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it today. By the way, Independent Journal Review is IJR, Independent Journal Review. I've seen their stuff before. They have a new logo that I'm not used to looking at. And maybe that was just the page that I was getting that information from. Anyway, but I know Howerton's work very well. Anyway, long story short, the reason why this is a story, the reason why it's blowing up is because left-wingers are on the short end. If this was just Republicans getting unfairly treated, because it's happening right now. Right now, conservatives are unfairly targeted on social media, on Twitter and Facebook. These platforms are very antagonistic toward the conservative point of view. They're not fair. And I don't even think that they, in their sign-on or their outward projection, that they're even predicated on being fair. If you're a conservative, if you're a Republican or a fair-minded independent, Facebook and Twitter are not saying they necessarily want or support you or even will treat you fairly. That's not what Mark Zuckerberg doesn't give a speech out there and say, I believe in fair speech and free speech for everybody. No, he doesn't do that. He's a big left-wing kook. So, and he advertises it. That's why this show has been so stalwart in our insistence that a lot of this old money, this conservative money, be put to a new and innovative platform. Now, there are some others out there, and we actually touched base on a couple of them last week. One of them was Gab. That platform, I got to tell you, hold on a second. I got to change something out here. You folks on Vida, you'll be able to see this, but my headphones are doing weird things. There's Gab, which is kind of a Twitter. There is, what's this other one? I discovered Vero, which is another social media platform, and that has been down for the better part of 2 weeks. I guess because people are now the phone app. I'm looking at it right now. The phone app of Vero is beautiful. It's very well done. They tout 1 million new users, but it's got a lot of software issues, or at least server issues, because the online version hasn't been, or the desktop version hasn't been available for quite some time, at least the last time I checked. So there are folks out there trying to take this market share, but if you talk to a millennial, they will tell you that nobody's going to beat Facebook. Nobody's going to beat Twitter. And I don't believe that. I mean, IBM, at one point, nobody's going to beat IBM. Where's IBM today? Right? So I believe in competition. I wish there'd be some money person who would come up and basically say, we're going to start a new social media platform, and we're going to advertise it, and it's going to be a place where conservatives can be treated fairly. That's what we have been pushing for, and wondering why the so-called money men inside of the Republican Party, inside of the conservative movement, aren't investing in a platform like this. And maybe they are, and I just don't know about it. I'll leave plenty of room for that possibility as well. 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. If you're getting up this morning, there's some things you got to know. We've just been talking about this social media scandal. That really isn't a social media scandal. It really isn't. The only scandal is that Democrats are getting the same medicine they were dishing out to Republicans. That's why it's a big story now. Now there's calls for regulation, blah, 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 blah. And also another bomb has gone off in a FedEx facility this time, outside of Austin, closer to San Antonio, really. So this is what I was afraid of about the bomb blasts going on, and that it wouldn't be confined to Austin. That was one worrying component. Also, what's worrying me, I got to be honest, is the posture of the police. We'd like the bomber to reach out and talk to us. Tell us what your issue is. Really? You want the bomber to reach out to you, you say? And this, of course, sends all of the wrong messages, not only to the public, but to the bomber himself, saying, they have no idea where I am. They have no idea who I am. So, and again, you police officers out there who happen to be on the beat and can lend some expertise to why a police department does something like this, because it seems counterintuitive to me. I've always been told that it's better to raise the pressure on these perpetrators so that they'll make a mistake. We've got a lot of promising leads. We're zeroing in and yada, 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 and make them a little desperate so they'll make a mistake. That's the kind of tactic that I'm. Now, of course, see, now I know I was going to get stuck in this, because there's also this component about this guy knowing what he's doing. This guy or people knowing what they're doing. These bombs are showing various levels of sophistication. Some of them having tripwires, some of them being I'm assuming remote detonated or motion sensor detonated. So the individuals perpetrating this, they seem to know what they're doing. So with these type of standard police tactics of, oh yeah, we're closing in, would that work on somebody perhaps with this level of experience? Maybe there's been a psych profile done that I don't know about. The police are saying, well, we're going to have to approach this a different way. This individual has this community flummoxed. This individual has this community worried and beside itself, and this person or persons knows it. So let's appeal to that side. Again, I'm not a police officer. I don't even play one on the radio, but Russell and I were talking about this in the first hour. Really, you want to talk to the bomber, and that's the message you're putting out on television. 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. Donald Trump yesterday hitting the road, and I don't know why this made news, but it did. On their way out to Marine One, Melania trips and almost falls, and Donald Trump catches her and props her up. Not sure why that made news, but it was news. And I guess it goes to show you that everything the first couple does is scrutinized or put under a microscope. Donald Trump calling on Congress to get rid of one of the big culprits he says is contributing to the opioid and illegal drug crisis. Here is the President of the United States yesterday as he was giving this speech.
According to a recent Dartmouth study, the sanctuary city of Lawrence, Massachusetts is one of the primary sources of fentanyl in 6 New Hampshire counties. ICE recently arrested 15 MS-13 gang members. These are not good people, folks, okay? These are bad, bad people. They don't use guns. They'd rather use knives because it's more painful.
So you notice who he's targeting. And this kind of makes sense when you think about sanctuary cities and where the drugs are coming from. Illegal aliens are welcome inside of San Francisco, welcome inside of Houston, welcome inside of Dallas, welcome inside of San Antonio, inside of Austin. And a lot of these illegal aliens are utilizing the human smuggling trade to smuggle in their drugs. The same paths, the same operatives. A lot of, smuggling people and smuggling drugs pretty profitable. So, and many of these sanctuary cities are turning into distribution nodes for these poisons being ushered into our country. The illegals say, "Hey, let's go up to Houston." They love illegals there. Even we illegal alien felons, they dig them there. They dig them over in Travis County. Let's say, when you're out and coming across the border in San Diego, let's get up to San Francisco and Oakland as quickly as we can. You've got the mayor up there who calls us to let us know the feds are coming so we felony drug dealers can stay and continue to distribute this poison on the streets of Oakland. So let's go to where all these Democrats run things so we can continue to operate unabated.
And it takes longer. These are bad people. In Boston, Massachusetts, which is a place where you have sanctuary cities, I'm repeating my call on Congress to block funds for sanctuary cities and to close the deadly loopholes that allow criminals back into our country and into our country in the first place.
And the applause went on and on and on. Americans are sick and tired, of course, of illegal immigration. And Americans are tired of sanctuary cities saying, "Oh, you know what? We like our illegals here, man. Just keep them coming in, man. It's okay." And I shouldn't even use the Chicano voice because, to be quite frank, these illegals are coming from all over the planet. China, Yemen,
You sounded
Pakistan.
like Tony Montana from Scarface.
Is that what say hello to my little friend? Anyway, but they're all coming up through Mexico. And Mexico's saying, "Hey, come on in. Come on in. It's cool." We love ourselves some narco-terrorists. By the way, Mexico is so forward-thinking, they disarm all their people so they can't defend themselves from the narco-terrorists. Great plan, Mexico. Hold on. Donald Trump has a solution. The death penalty for some drug dealers. What do you guys think about this? Or drug distributors, I'm hoping. What do you guys think about the death penalty? Is it about time for this? If we want to get serious about illegal drugs. Back in a minute, the Chris Salcedo Show, here on The Voice of Texas.
Thank you, Mr. President. And, you've done a lot already to tackle this issue of drug pricing. So last year, the FDA approved more generic drugs than it ever has in its history. And that brings prices down for patients, for the system, for everybody.
That's U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar. You know what? After Tom Price left, I didn't pay attention to actually who replaced him. It's the first time I've seen this guy yesterday.
You also changed the rules so our senior citizens pay less out of pocket for their drugs. That's $3.2 billion that they're paying less out of pocket for their drugs when they go to the pharmacy. And then we're going to be rolling it, as you mentioned, in about a month, a whole slate of other proposals around how we decrease the price of drugs and how we bring discounts that the middlemen right now are getting, how those will go to our patients, to individuals. Now, we're attacking this with the same level of action, determination, and resolve that you're bringing to the opioid crisis. And that's where we're focused on prevention and getting that 1/3 fewer illegal opioid prescriptions to our people.
You know, and you're going to hear him pivot because many are saying that it's prescription opioids that lead to the abuse and the illegal opioids.
The second is stopping the illicit flow of these opioids into our country. And the third is compassionate treatment for people, evidence-based, science-based, compassionate treatment that can help people recover and stay away from relapse. So thank you, Mr. President, for your leadership.
Thank you, Alex.
281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. Let's get out to Mike. Hello, Mike. Welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show. Glad you made it. Hello, sir.
Cities across the nation which are illegal.
Yes.
But in a sense, that illustrates the fact that Democrats like borders. In this case, the borders keep out law enforcement.
Well, yeah, or walls, whether they be literal or figurative. You know, I think that's a very good point. These sanctuary cities tend to be walls to the law-abiding, where Democrats say, "Come in to all of you illegal aliens, and all of you citizens who may have a problem with this, screw you." Yeah.
The thing is that gets me is why can't we come down and say sanctuary cities are illegal, they are against American laws, and we don't have to evaluate this or evaluate that. No, shut it down.
Well, we did. Texas did. Texas became the first state to do this. By the way,
except we have our mayor who says, screw that. We're a welcoming city, not a sanctuary city.
Well, you know what? I hope that Mayor Turner decides to test that law. As a matter of fact, Mayor Turner, Chris Salcedo Show challenges you to challenge that law, because that law, which has been held constitutional, by the way, and upheld in the Fifth Circuit, it'll go to the Supreme Court. It'll be upheld there as well. This allows Texas to basically take mayors who want to be the next Libby Schaff of Oakland and puts them in jail. Sure. And so I'm inviting Mr. Turner to do that. Let's see, Mr. Turner, let's see. Do you stand up for illegal aliens, and are you willing to go to jail for illegal aliens in your so-called welcoming city? I hope he tests it. I really do, Mike.
Good. I hope that happens, and our favorite at-large person at City Council can take that message to them. Well,
like I said, hopefully it'll be the state law enforcement which will do that, Mike. That if Mr. Turner really wants to go all Libby Schaff on us and start releasing illegal alien felons, you know what? I would encourage the Trump administration, after they're done in California, come to Texas, the second most populous state with illegal aliens. Come to Texas. Set up shop in Houston. Set up shop in San Antonio. Set up shop in Austin and in Dallas. And start getting rid of illegal alien felons who don't belong here. And let's see if Mayor Turner really, really believes in his convictions about a welcoming city. And as I said, I hope he tries to stand on those convictions, which puts foreigners first ahead of Texans, ahead of Americans. 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. Hello, Adele. Welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show. What say you?
Good morning. Tell me something. Why can't we have term limits all the way around for everybody? to change our government instead of having all these chair warmers.
Well, the on the national level, there is no prohibition on how long somebody can serve as long as they get elected. Now, that's what many people in the Convention of States wants to do. They want to impose the same term limit we have on presidents. We want to put that into the Constitution so that our elected officials at the federal level will also be term limited out, so they can concentrate, instead of on re-election, they can concentrate on actually doing the right thing for the country. But Adele, the reason being is we have too many so-called leaders who will never sign on to that. This is going to have to be an effort of the people to basically say, we're not going to give you a choice in the matter. We're not.
Well, how do we start it?
Well, the Convention of the States has already started. You need to, you know what? It starts on your own circle of friends, how much organizing you do, and how much you take to your local officials saying, look, if you don't support the Convention of the States and you don't start getting a little more boisterous about this, you know what? We're going to target you. We're going to primary you.
And I must tell you, I no longer trust Ted Cruz.
Why is that?
Well, he received $11 million from one of the banks, from J.P. Morgan, during the campaigning. And Ted Cruz isn't out there for us anymore the way he used to be.
How now? Just because he's not visible doesn't mean he's not out there, Adele. And there are.
Well, what happened to El Chapo law?
The what now?
The El Chapo law.
It didn't get enough support in the Congress. He's only one man.
Right.
So
but you know what? They don't want to give us the borders. Hey, Chris, I'm a Latina. Mm-hmm. I'm a Mexican American. You know, you should see the way I suffer. I have illegals living across the street from me, and I hate it. You know, and they're criminals.
Are they criminals as in felons, or are they just those who came into the country illegally?
They're thieves.
They're thieves.
They robbed every one of us up and down the street.
Wow. And you call police, and what is their response?
Yes, they put them on probation, and then it took off from there. Mm. Of course, I'm never allowed to know what's going on.
Right, because the illegal aliens have rights, you see.
Well, so do I.
not
I'm an American, you know. And if I have to get out there and start carrying a sign and saying, I am American, this is BS what you're giving me, America.
Well, it isn't. Look, it isn't America. America's with you, Adele. The vast majority of Americans despise illegal aliens. By the way, what city do you live in? If I can ask.
Katy.
Katy?
Right.
That's a shame. Katy Police Department. If they are not look, if you have an issue with illegal aliens on your street, and you're not getting the response from law enforcement, call back. I want to hear about a specific case, so maybe we can work our connections and see about getting maybe some decent response for you, because simply because they are illegal aliens doesn't give them the right to do other things. And I want to know that Katy, especially Adele, if they're committing felonies in the city of Katy, that by law now the city of Katy is required to cooperate with the federal government and their efforts to get rid of these illegal alien felons. And if Katy's not doing that, and I'm not, Adele, I understand how passionate you are about this, but we want to keep an open mind, and we want to give the police in Katy a chance to respond as well. But bring me a specific case, and we'll talk about it, and we'll take it to the appropriate channels. If this is happening, contrary to Texas law, to where these people are enabling illegal alien felons, there needs to be a legal price to be paid. And I'm not talking about having these police departments go out and do the federal government's job. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is when you arrest illegal aliens on felony charges, that you cooperate with the federal government, hold them until ICE can get there and properly dispose of the illegal alien felon. And the proper treatment for an illegal alien felon in the United States of America is deportation. That's the appropriate response. Illegal aliens don't belong in the United States, and illegal alien felons certainly don't belong in the United States. 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. What do you guys think about Donald Trump? He's targeting sanctuary cities. He's saying sanctuary cities are major hubs of distribution for drugs, illicit drugs in this country. And he is calling for the death penalty for certain drug dealers. Do you agree with that? Do you agree? 281-558-5738. The Chris Salcedo Show can be found on social media on ksevradio.com/Chris Salcedo, ksevradio.com/ChrisSalcedo. You'll find Facebook, Twitter, and email right there. Let's get to a break, and we'll get right back to you and your calls on the Voice of Texas. Before us is Donald Trump's plan to get that death penalty in for some drug distributors, offenders. Is that an effective deterrent? Will that solve some problems? Let's talk about this. Willie, welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show. Glad you made it.
How you doing? So let's talk drugs. It's called personal responsibility, Chris.
Right.
Listen to me. My daddy said some years ago, if you got two pilots flying a plane and one want to jump out, the other got to fly it and kill itself. If that pilot business just don't land in my yard, I don't have to clean up the mess. Listen to me, Chris. What the drug dealer got to do with somebody want to stick something in their arm or snort something up their nose? That's personal responsibility. It's why is it my business if that man want to do that? That ain't the government business. That ain't my business. As long as these people ain't hurt nobody else, as long as they ain't hurting taxpayers, as long as he hurt his own arm and his own nose, it's that man's business. Why we don't look at it like that?
So so there is also another component, I think, is what you're talking about, is just legalize these drugs and let these idiots who want to coke out, and they die off, and the country's stronger for it.
Chris, I ain't got no problem with it. No problem with that. If you jump out of a plane and want to kill yourself, just don't land in my yard. But I don't want to have to clean up the mess. I appreciate it.
Now, I don't look. I said there are certain components, and that's a very libertarian view you're taking, Willie. And
on that, I'm libertarian. You can't control what grown folks do, bro.
And I get what you're saying. I think the drug war. Here's what I know: the drug war has been a colossal failure. It's been a complete waste of money. All you've done in the drug war is drive up the cost of these illicit drugs, so that these drug lords become multi-billionaires.
And we put none of our criminals behind bars. That's what we're doing. And taxpayer is paying for that, Fred.
Well,
all people is responsible, and I don't have to pay for it. I don't care what they do. I don't care what they put in their nose. I think that there is a segment of our population, and I agree with certain components of that. Let me offer you another angle on this. You asked what do the drug dealers have to do with somebody wanting to stick something in their arm or snort something up their nose. Well, the drug dealers providing the poison and maybe marketing it to kids who are impressionable. Should there be now look, that drug dealer made a decision too. Should we not punish his decision as the president wants to do with the death penalty? No. The punishment got to fit the crime, Chris. If we teach our kids, I ain't ever done drugs. I don't even do tobacco. I don't even do alcohol. We don't have to do those things. If you teach our kids not to do tobacco, not to do alcohol, not to do drugs, soon as they come out the womb, they probably won't do it, Chris. But what does country do? It perpetrates alcohol, it perpetrates tobacco, and let's be real, it perpetrates drugs too. Let's just stop. Let's be real about this. I ain't never done alcohol, ain't never done drugs, and I ain't never done none of that stuff, bro.
Well, I've never done drugs. I mean, look, I love a good whiskey every now and then, and I will have a glass of wine with dinner.
You don't think whiskey? You don't think it's just worth it, the drug?
No. What I'm saying to you is just you're giving your personal experience. I'm giving mine. So,
okay.
And you know what? And a lot of these drug dealers do target our kids, and
Chris, I was a kid too.
I get it. I'm not saying you're right or wrong here. I asked for your opinion, and you gave it, and I think it's a valid one. Willie, I appreciate the call, man.
I appreciate it, sir.
All right, buddy. Thank you very much. Bob, welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show. What say? Did we lose him? Okay. Let's go to Kathy. Hello, Kathy. Welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show. What's going on?
Hi, Chris. Here's my take. I have two visions to give you.
Okay.
One is, do you remember Pinocchio?
Yes, very well.
The movie?
Yes.
Do you remember Pleasure Island?
I remember Pleasure Island, yes.
Yeah, they all the kids were encouraged to do all the vices.
Yep.
And in the meantime, they were being turned into slaves. They didn't even know it. And the other thing I want to tell you about is Bishop Sheen. Do you know anything about Bishop Sheen?
Refresh my memory.
He was a bishop. He had TV shows back in the 50s, and then he did videos in the 70s. He was a very good bishop.
Okay.
And he warned, I have a DVD of his, and he warned back in the 70s that the lax opinion about just even marijuana, eventually it's going to lead to, are you ready for this? And he's right. He was right. Sadism.
Well, I mean,
sadism.
That your altered state, what people will do to get their next fix, it turns it really does release a lot of people's inner demons because of the addictive nature of, and it destroys lives. The opioid crisis has been much ballyhooed for the last year and a half, 2 years, and it is true. It is a mess out there. So, what do you think about the president's idea for the death sentence for some of these drug distributors?
For the the distributors, absolutely. I'm all for it.
Now, what about what about the low-level guy on the street just dealing?
I think these are people that, they've gone down a path that maybe, through circumstances and everything.
Right.
I think they're the small fries. It's the big ones because they know what they're doing.
True.
And they're just pure evil.
Well, let me ask you about what Willie said, which is the whole legalization process. I can assure you that America's war on drugs has made the illicit drug trade much more profitable. I mean, it has made billionaires out of these drug terrorists, these narco terrorists. If you legalize the biggest market, which is the United States of America, and all of a sudden you regulate it and you tax it and you do all this kind of stuff, you're going to watch the price just drop to the floor, and then these drug kingpins can't make a ton of money anymore. What do you think about that angle?
I think we need to take a page from the left and use their tactics. I think we should, if we're going to legalize drugs, then we make drugs a complete horrible thing to do, where people are, ostracized for this. It's
scarlet letter type thing.
Yeah, it's like what they're trying to do with guns.
Yeah. Well, that's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. The PR wars. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also look into why are people, these kids. They're what makes them want to turn to drugs?
Well,
what is happening in their lives? They don't have a lot. They're bored. They're bored, and nobody's looking out for them. Giving them reasons to live.
Kathy, this whole situation where we're talking about the sanctuary city component of this, the drug component of this, or you brought up the gun situation, it all stems from America not having operational control over its borders. That's the reason why we can't solve problems, is because this country isn't serious about securing its borders.
All these mayors that are pushing the sanctuary city, I challenge them to take all the locks off their doors.
And leave their armed, all the liberal lawmakers who believe that the gun should be taken away, tell them to leave their security detail behind. 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSCV. Thanks for the call, lady. Don, you're up next. Welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show.
Good morning, Chris. On this 15th anniversary of the bombing of Baghdad under George W. Bush, I want to wish you a happy shock and awe day. Mission accomplished. The entire Middle East has been destabilized, and the military-industrial complex got exactly what it wanted. And now we're about to go attack Iran. Even Macron just warned the United States, Israel, and Saudi Arabia not to attack Iran. So even the French are smarter than the American people.
Yes,
So,
because the radicalized Islamic fundamentalist terrorists are worthy of being able to spread their terrorism.
So do you want to send your son to Iran? Is that what you want?
Well, A, I have no sons, and B, B that
you want to go?
It's kind of a specious argument, Don, because I could ask you, hey, do you want to be blown up in your home the next time a radicalized Islamic fundamentalist terrorist?
So let me ask you a question. All the weapons.
Well, wait a minute. You answer mine. I said I answered your question with a question.
I think your argument is specious because nothing happened. Was Saddam Hussein really a threat to us? The entire Middle East has been destabilized.
Well,
Trump was right.
wait a minute.
$6 trillion wasted.
Well,
right?
I think that there is a case that the way the Iraq War was prosecuted, there is a case that it was not done correctly. But Don, you've really got to do some investigating into what the Iraq War was really about. And the reason why
it was about, you know what it was about, Chris? With all due respect, I like you. You're a pretty fair guy. You let people talk.
Yeah.
Unlike some talk show hosts, okay? You know, if you go back to 1960, Eisenhower's farewell address, your entire audience can YouTube it. He warned about the military-industrial complex threat to democracy.
And there is some, and I don't mean to cut you off. I don't mean to cut you off, but because I'm up against the clock here. And if you want to hang on, we can continue the discussion on the other side. But long story short, there is some wisdom to what he said. But the industrialized military complex wasn't what Iraq was about. And if to sit there and say that the absence of war means peace, there is no truth to that whatsoever, because history is our guide. Hold on, if I could be allowed to finish my sentence. What I was trying to say was that the absence of war is not peace. And if you want to turn a blind eye to gathering threats, you end up paying the price. Now, and Don, hold on over. Don't let him go if he wants to hang on, Russell. If you want to pay the price for appeasement, Europe showed us that was the wrong way to handle growing threats like Hitler. And that's going to do it here for the Chris Salcedo Show Worldwide on the Vida Television Network. I want to remind everyone that I think I'm one of the few individuals on television who actually allows you to directly interact with me, unfiltered, live. All you got to do is call AM 700 KSEV 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV from the hours of 7:30 a.m. Eastern until 10 o'clock Eastern, and let your voice be heard. Maybe you don't think we covered something fairly, or maybe you don't think we've covered something enough. It's your chance to weigh in. You can also do so via social media. Go to chrissalcedo.com. All of our contact information is there. Or you can do it live in real time during those same hours at Chris Salcedo TX. Even off hours, we respond to Twitter, and it's a good chance if you make a compelling argument, it'll be featured on the show if I'm not on the air at the time the following day. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Chris Salcedo Show Worldwide here on the Vida Television Network. We'll see you next time.